He looked ready. He looked fresh. He looked really determined. He's been better and better every single day. Not only training, but his interaction, his language is more settled. And because he's a player, obviously that I really like. That's why we signed him, and he's got the potential, that he says, to be great. And I think he had a big task against the players that he had to face today, and I think he did really well.
Now, it'd be fair to say, since joining Arsenal last January, Jakub Kiwior has been on a whirlwind of a journey so far. The Polish international is currently 24 years of age. And as I said, it's fair to say the jury's been out. I mean, we can all remember ducking out of a header against Sporting Lisbon, playing around with his football boot in the home game last season against Brighton. Obviously, he's quite simply getting embarrassed against PSV, in which, let's be honest, he was terrorized in that game. He was nutmegged and he was just butchered, if I'm completely honest. And we all remember when he was hooked at halftime this season against Fulham away from home. Now, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody goes through setbacks and negative experiences. But tough times build tough people. If life was easy, we'd all be successful. It's how you bounce back from these negative periods that define you as a human being, man or woman. Since then, it's fair to say Kiwior's stocks, to go with Arsenal's form, have been rising, and he's proven himself to be a reliable left back under Mikel Arteta currently. Life, like football, whether you're ready or not, when there is an opportunity for you to advance your life or advance your footballing career, you need to be able to take it. I think Kiwior had a great game against Porto, if I'm really honest with you. He stood up to be counted and he stood tall. He looks a lot more confident, and he's been able to take advantage and display his qualities in the absence of Timber, Tomiyasu and Zinchenko owing to injuries. Take your opportunities, and that's what he's doing. Now, admittedly, when we signed a Polish international from the University of Defending, which Italy or the Italian league can be described as, and I know obviously Tomiyasu's 25, Kiwior's 24, but the last player we signed from the Italian league, whether they're an Italian national or not, they were a hit. But I do think people underestimate the fact that he joined last season in January, where he's acclimatizing to a new league, a new system, a new way of things. I feel personally the biggest problem that Kiwior's had has been confidence. I think he's got the raw capabilities to be a good squad player. I don't know if he's in Mikel Arteta's strongest lineup when everybody's fit, but whether he's going to do that and gets better and better, or is able to show that he is a worthy deputy either at left-sided or the centre-half pairing or at left-back, who really cares? Football's a squad game. Mikel Arteta has previously stated we've got one of the finished squads in the division, which again, him and Edu are going to have to fix that for next season and beyond, because we've been working miracles since August. But, where there's a void left by some players, other players take advantage. I believe it's a confidence thing with Kiwior. I think now the penny has finally dropped that whether you're a household name arriving to this football club like Declan Rice, coming from the academy or more humble beginnings, you're here for a reason. With the greatest of respects to Anderlecht and Spezia and the teams he's been at before, Arsenal is a different animal, and I think he's had to acclimatize to that from a personality point of view. He seems quite inverted. It takes me back to when we won the English Super Cup Community Shield against City, where recently departed defender Rob Holding kind of had to goad him to take pictures. He seems quite introverted, but collectively we found our form again this season, and he's been able to do that. And obviously people, in my opinion, underestimate the mental capacity that's needed to play for a big club, perform in the Premier League and show your capabilities. There's no coincidence that now that he looks a lot more confident, to go with our collective uptake in form, you're seeing a better Kiwior, really and truly. And think obviously a big help is he's not being asked to play that inverted role. It's kind of a traditional left back role, and Benjamin White is picking up the pieces. And I do also think people underestimate that, yes, technically this is his second season, but he joined mid-season last year. This is his first full year. So you can kind of include him in the batch of new players like Raya, Timber, Rice and Kai Havertz. And I do think people underestimate that he's 24. As a defender, that's a baby. Experience can be overrated, but it can never be overstated. I do think for Kiwior to go to the next level, it's about being more proactive in your defending and less reactive, because he can be caught flat flat-footed at times, but Mikel Arteta has to have known that there would be teething issues in that regards. He's had to be patient for his opportunities, but most importantly, when those opportunities arrive, take them. As I said, I still think there's raw elements in his game. I still think he's learning his collective trade as a defender and his collective role in the team. But no coincidence, his first season, full season, better yet, he's looking a lot more all-rounded. Personally, during Kiwior's time at Arsenal Football Club, I think he stood up tall last season against Newcastle away from home. I think he started slow against Chelsea at the Emirates last year, and he was superb. Obviously, he bossed it against Porto, and there's been numerous other games from him, really and truly. So I'm very proud of Kiwior, really. I know I get given a bad rep. People say I hate the guy. Why would I hate anyone that plays for Arsenal? Do you think when discussing Kiwior, we need to remember he's played 33 times for this football club, which hasn't been too many 90-minute games unless there's been injuries or absences. He played 43 times for Spezia. I like him a lot because he's actually played in 5 countries, which is probably helping indirectly with his adaptability. Now, as we all know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We'd all go back in school and want to learn more and listen more and things like that. And for what it's worth, I do think, you know, if you was Mikel Arteta, I do think we would all have a reluctance to have blooded Kiwior in last season during our title race because he's just joined the football club. We all know it didn't work out with Rob Holding, even though I think it's a bit simple per se, folks, to sit here and just say we didn't win the league last year because of Rob Holding. But I do like what Mikel Arteta is doing at Arsenal. But one question I would like to ask him, in the running last season, if you could go back in time, would you have put Kiwior in sooner? Because there were moments where he looked raw, and again, the manager's the one seeing them all at training. It's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know, which Kiwior was an unknown entity to a degree. Obviously, we signed him. Disclaimer, I'm not calling anyone a devil, it's just an example. But one does wonder, really, what Arteta would have done there. You know, he had to be very patient last season for minutes, a bit like this year, but most importantly, take your chances. You know, when you look at the last time we won the league, which was a very, very, very long time ago, yeah, you had your Patrick Vieira's and Thierry Henry's and stuff like that, but you also had Freddie Ljungberg, Ray Parlour, players that were quote-unquote squad players that you could rely upon. Will Todd's another one. And that's what you need. Realistically, you look through the bulk of our squad, there are a lot of players who pick up a lot of injuries, really and truly. And again, to kind of aid the point about Kiwior kind of being shy, you can see on screen the comments in relation to Rob Holding. I also think one thing that might go under the radar is the language barrier. You know, I'm sure he speaks Italian, somewhat Belgian because he's been at Anderlecht and a grasp on Italian because he's been there for 18 months. But English, I mean, you've got to remember, you know, to be fair, I wonder how much Saliba and Gabriel communicate in French. But language, the language barrier, again, in football, when you have a split second to make a decision, these things can make all the differences. Like when you look back earlier, and I look back at the mistake against Sport in Lisbon, I want my defenders to have, you know, if Kiwior just headed it, then get on to Matt Turner after. But maybe there was a language barrier. He might have heard something from Turner that he thought wasn't there, and that resulted in the mix-up. So again, he looks like he's getting a grasp of the language, even though the one thing about football is we all speak with our feet. He's looking a lot more comfortable and confident in his position, and I think you're seeing a lot more, you know, of his qualities. I still think there's a lot more to come from him, if I'm completely honest with you guys. I still think we could see that great recovery pace, that passing, even his passing, to the point where he's almost too confident now. You know, you look at the game against Brentford, I think to a degree he was kind of wasteful, but I'm happy with Kiwior. You know, he's a young man. He gives us resale value, of course, at being 24 years of age, is still linked with clubs in Italy. Not saying I want him to leave. He can grow with the team. He's versatile. I mean, he's played in central midfield in Italy. When you look at how he performed in the inverted role, I don't think Mikel Arteta is keen to play him there. The man himself has said he prefers to play as a centre half, and one does wonder how much will Mikel Arteta persist with him at left back if that's not him by trade, and also obviously when other players are back. I do think one thing Kiwior needs to improve is defending in wide areas, ironically, even though he is playing left back, folks, because if you're going to play centre half or left back, and let's focus on centre half quickly, in build-up play, big Gabriel at the center, at the back, he pulls out to basically be a left back when we're building up play. And obviously, when you've got Zinchenko inverting and Martinelli in front, a lot of confidence Mikel Arteta probably has in allowing them to be further forward is because Gabriel is quick, is strong, is a really good defender, and can get us out of trouble if we get into that. I still think that's something Kiwior needs to learn. Even if you go back to the Porto game, if you go and watch that again, I think Mikel Arteta had a great managerial masterclass in that. If you look at it, it became a back 3 or 5 at times because Trossard was basically the left back and Kiwior became a third centre half. So that is evidently an area of his game he can improve. The man himself has also said he's a centre half by trade and that's his best position. But if you're on the peripheral things at this football club and you can't really get a game unless there's injuries or stuff like that, you're just going to play where else. You're going to play wherever. And so far, he's doing that. As much as I like Kiwior, though, I do have a lot of questions. I still think the jury's still out. To be fair, you can only play what's in front of you. And I like the fact that naturally we're better as a football team. We're on the front foot a lot more. We're dominating games a lot more. So within theory, bar the occasional crazy Premier League game or maybe the games against the top 6, there's going to be less not even convincing, that's the wrong word. There's going to be less standout defensive performances. There's more going to be moments. As I said, you can only play what's in front of you, but I'm still yet to be wowed by Kiwior in terms of a 1v1 display against a top winger. And the same could be extended to if he played centre half, which he hasn't been exposed to. I also believe, when everybody's fit, I don't think Kiwior is a starter. On current form, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet going into the Manchester City game, and it'll be quite interesting considering Tomiyasu hasn't gone off with Japan to see who will actually play at left back. And it's also interesting to see who will play at left back when Timber, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu and everybody is fit really and truly. But that's for Kiwior to keep performing, keep putting in these convincing performances and give Mikel Arteta positive headaches. We've prayed for times like this as Arsenal fans, and I'm happy it's here, people. I do wonder with Mikel Arteta's demands on an inverted fullback, how much, he's going to allow Kiwior to play as a traditional left back as opposed to making Benjamin White invert. Obviously, Benjamin White does it and does it quite well, but there's a reason. I don't know what it would be, but there's a reason Benjamin White's probably been a bit more of a centre-back / traditional right back when you've had Timber or Tomiyasu in the side. And I wonder how long Mikel Arteta will kind of do this for Kiwior. To be fair, though, I rate that because a manager should, in theory, find systems or find ways of playing that, minimizes what a player struggles at and enhances what they're good at. And obviously, it's nice to see him get a couple of assists, and he scored in an Arsenal shirt between this year and last year. And it's absolutely amazing. Obviously, game time could be limited. You would imagine Arsenal at least sign one more defensive body come next season. But I like him a lot, man. There's a reason he's drawn high praise from the manager, from Robert Lewandowski, his fellow countryman. As I said, the jury's still out. There's bigger tests that still arise. But so far, so good from him. And I think he's adapted to his new teammates, his new tactics, the meetings he's spoken about, which was a culture shock under Mikel Arteta. And he's taken everything in his stride. He's showing competency, he's showing consistency, and ultimately he's showing confidence, which is going to make you a better footballer and ensure that Arsenal squad remains competitive with each other in terms of competition for places. And the better players we have at all different levels, some are going to be star boys, some are going to just be squad players, but it means that we're stronger in our pursuit of one day winning the Champions League, and hopefully where this season's concerned, the Premier League, really. And hopefully he keeps it up. Every game he plays, he's going to grow in confidence, and it's always going to be a learning curve. There's some tricky wingers and strikers, whether he's playing centre half or left back in the Prem, and the more he performs like this, the more confidence he'll have that he'll be able to undertake those challenges. Now, if you're listening to this, people, big up yourself because you're rocking with one of the most underrated YouTubers in this space. Do smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't. But on a serious note, big up yourselves. I just want to add some more thoughts and be devil's advocate and see what you lot have to say on this. Let me know in the comment section. To be devil's advocate, we all know the collective comes first. It's about the system and how players tie into it. But we also know that you could argue individuals dictate what a manager does, or individuals first and then the collective system. And this is no fault on Kiwior at all. I just want to get the creative juices flowing, and I eagerly anticipate and await what you lot have to say. What does Kiwior provide that Zinchenko doesn't, for example. And I'm not saying he's not better than Zinchenko or vice versa, but we all know the cons of Zinchenko's game. You know he's going to switch off defensively. For what he gives you in midfield is a big pro. When he ventures in there, we know Timber isn't as creative as Zinchenko, but he's not far off it, and he's an athlete, and he's a lot more stronger in 1v1 situations. We know Tomiyasu is never going to be the greatest in the final third, but prior to his injury, he was improving at that, and he is both-footed, and he is quite good in the air, as is Kiwior. And obviously, people, he's probably in Tomiyasu's case, our best 1v1 defender. As I said, this isn't a knock at Kiwior. This isn't me trying to get at Kiwior. This isn't me trying to play down Kiwior. As I said, I want good questions. I want Mikel Arteta to be up all night wondering who he's going to play in what position and what he's going to do. We all know, as Arteta says, the game state dictates what he wants to do in a match. It's different horses for different courses. But as I was saying, what does Kiwior offer that is greater than the other names mentioned, or is completely different? Because we know Zinchenko switches off defensively. He'll give you a lot going forward. We know Tomiyasu makes you a lot stronger in 1v1 and aerial situations and just general intelligence of the game. And the same could be said for Timber. I'm not telling you guys what to think. I'm just saying think. I'm not saying Kiwior isn't better than any of these individuals, if that's what you want to believe. But I'm just asking, seeking knowledge, people. What does he present? Because if he wants to be a mainstay in the Arsenal team and keep his spot, then that's what he's going to have to do. What outstanding qualities does he possess as opposed to the other options in front of him or around him in the pecking order? For what it's worth, going into the City game, he probably is going to play and probably should play, because my natural bias would be Tomiyasu, but I do believe that Kiwior deserves to play, and he's in a great moment. And let's be honest, Tomiyasu isn't exactly fit. I said, people, Kiwior is proving his doubters wrong. He's doing his thing. The jury's still out, but ultimately, the better players we have performing for this football club, the more confidence we can have across every fixture that this world presents to us throughout the year, or better yet, this season. I want to know you lot's thoughts, people. The stars are aligning for Kiwior. He is on an upward trajectory, and long may it continue. I hope to make videos like this again in greater stead. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like button. Do you think Kiwior is the best left-back option? And let me know all of your surrounding thoughts in relation to Kiwior. On that note, check out the rest of the other content. Stay safe, stay blessed. One love.